Depeche Mode have kicked off with leg 4 of the Memento Mori World Tour. I went to see the first show of the fourth leg, which was the London O2 show, and let's talk all about it. A very warm welcome to you, my friend, wherever you may be in the world. Now, this video is coming out a little bit later than I anticipated. Whenever doing a review of a live show, I like to do it as soon as I can after the show so that it's fresh in my mind. Unfortunately, with the recent events, with the passing of my dear friend and business partner, Brian Griffin, things have been very turbulent and we're just trying to put the pieces back together. So hence the reason this review is only coming out now. Regarding Brian, there is so much I can say, so much I want to say, but I will leave that for a special video tribute, which will be coming out very soon. So the Memento Mori World Tour has been going for a while, and as we know, whenever Depeche Mode go on tour, it goes on forever, in a good way. Typically, this band have a work ethic of releasing an album typically every 4 years, and then it's followed by a mammoth world tour. If you've been following my channel from the beginning, you will know that I love this band. I've probably covered them in more depth than any other YouTube channel out there, and I think you also know that I am, regardless of my love for this band, I'm brutally honest. I believe in being authentic, and I'm not here to win friends and, to be loved by everyone. I just give my honest opinion, and I think that's very, very important. So you can be rest assured I will not hold back and give my brutally honest opinion. And within that, it doesn't mean I'm right. It's just my opinion. Those of you who follow my channel will know that I've released a video on my initial thoughts and feelings on Memento Mori, and I've been very, very complimentary about this album. I do think it was a return to form after 3 albums which I really didn't resonate with. So this to me was really an album which I thought, okay, we're returning to form. Now, I've rated it, in my opinion, as a very good album. I don't think it's outstanding, but it certainly is one of the best Depeche Mode albums they've released in years, as far as I'm concerned. If you watched my video on the Twickenham show, I will link to that here in the cards and in the description below, and you will notice that I was very, very complimentary on the live show. You will also know that I was not very complimentary in this video, which was the Spirits of the Forest review. I do feel that the Memento Mori tour has been very, very good, and I did say this in my Twickenham video where I said, I feel that a lot of the things that annoyed me about the Spirits of the Forest or the Spirit tour, they seem to have addressed those problems and, fixed them, so to speak. To which some people have joked and said, "Oh, Vaughn, it looks like Depeche Mode's production crew have watched that video." But whether that's the case or not, I was pleased to say that, and you can watch those videos, of course. I don't want to repeat myself, but mainly one of the things that annoyed me about the Spirit tour was, the way the songs were mixed. You primarily just heard drums and bass, and the keyboard sounds were very sort of in the background. And also, I didn't hold back on Christian's drumming. I mean, I think I refer to him as an epileptic octopus. So for those of you wondering why I never get free tickets to Depeche Mode shows, well, that's probably the reason, and that's only because I'm being brutally honest. I have also, in my defense, said that this is no personal attack on Christian. I think he's an amazing drummer. I just think he's possibly the wrong drummer for this band, because I think he's more of a rock drummer. But, his technical ability is more than competent for this band. Of course, fast forwarding to this Memento Mori tour, I do feel that the drumming these days is a lot more intentional. It's a lot more thoughtful. It's not as brutal as it used to be, and a lot better. But I still have my personal criticisms on that, and I will give you those now. As we run through the set list from the Depeche Mode show at the O2, which was on the 22nd of January. Now, this was the first show from the fourth leg. Now, I was personally very excited about this show because I had seen this particular show in the Twickenham Stadium, but I was excited to see this in an indoor arena. The problem with outdoor shows is they're very big and you can lose a lot of sound, and you can also lose a lot of atmosphere, because certainly in the case of the Twickenham show, which was done in England in the summer, what happens is you lose a lot of atmosphere, and the lighting is only really effective for the last 6 or 7 songs. So I was looking forward to seeing this band in the O2, and personally, I would like to see them in a smaller venue, but then again, this band they're too big. But anyway, I think the capacity for the O2 Arena in London, I believe it's about 12,000, and I was excited. I had just come to the UK. We just finished 3 shows with the band I'm in called Mesh, and we had a great response. And it was nice to sort of come off tour and then come see one of my favorite bands of all time. And I joined up with Rob Rom, shout out to my brother from another mother from Depeche Mode Global there, and his crew. It was really good to see them all, and we went in force. So what do we expect? We walk into the arena and you can feel the atmosphere. It's electric, boom, 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 boom. I just love the scale of it. And me just coming from doing those 3 UK shows with Mesh, we don't play to audiences this size. So having just come from tour and having played a gig ourselves in the garage in London the previous night, it's interesting to just come from the performance mind into being an audience member of one of your favorite bands, and then just seeing the scale of this. And the scale of this is mammoth. It's colossal. And I take my hat off to the production crew, because I can only imagine what is involved in putting on a show this size. So the lights go dark, boom, and it starts, and everyone starts cheering. The intro to this, which is the outro to the instrumental from Speak to Me, sort of like the end part. It's very similar to the sort of intro music they used in the Spirit Tour. And as I've said before, Depeche Mode typically, since sort of devotional, they typically start the show with a slow song. We saw that in the previous tours, and this tour is no different. And they typically always start off with the first track from the first album. My Cosmos Is Mine is the opening track. And I must just say, the intro, it's got like the siren, and it's very epic and slow, and boom, 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 and it's amazing. I love it. But then you know what's coming, and that is where my first sort of criticism of this particular show is. It's almost predictable, I really thought that by the fourth leg, they may just switch things up a bit. And this is where I feel things are, if you forgive me saying this, a little bit lazy and a little bit predictable. Now, I understand when you're putting on a production, you have to have systems in place. You don't want any surprises. I get that. But one of the drawbacks we also have these days is YouTube. And what I mean by that is there are no secrets and surprises anymore, because every time a show takes place, there'll be hundreds of people posting videos on YouTube the next day. Now, that's good and bad for the same, for different reasons. One of the bad reasons is there's no excitement, and you know what to expect. But this now being the first show of the fourth leg, I just thought perhaps there might be a curveball. There might be a bit of excitement. But this whole concert, to me, was very, very similar to the one I saw in Twickenham. And for that reason, it was a bit disappointing. I feel that the one in Twickenham was more energetic, and, I just think it came across better. Once again, I think because this was the first show of the fourth leg, it was a little bit of a cold start. Now, there's nothing bad about that. One of the first things that sort of struck me instantly was Dave looked tired and he sounded tired. Now, I'm not going to use that as a point of criticism. I'm not going to go on about that. He is human. I still say he's one of the most outstanding frontmen ever. In fact, I think he's the most outstanding frontman in the history of electronic music. So I say it with a lot of respect. He came across as tired. Back to My Cosmos Is Mine. I don't know anyone who actually likes this song. It's just a bit boom, 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 boom. And then it starts and you're like, okay, how long is it? 7 minutes? Okay, all right, okay, and it goes on. Now, as an album track, as a concept song, it works. I get it. It's a bit depressing and a bit downbeat, but once again, as an album and as a concept track, it works. In a live environment, I don't mind that they played it on the first few legs, but I think by the time you get to the fourth leg, let's switch it up. Let's just change things a bit. Now, I personally, and I'm going to give you my personal set list that I would have liked to have seen. I think if I was, let's just say I was made the head of production for Depeche Mode. Let's just entertain me now. Let's just have a laugh. I was appointed as head of production for Depeche Mode. God help us. I would have said, lose My Cosmos Is Mine and start off with People Are Good. Now imagine that. They've got the epic walk on and then People Are Good starts. What an epic song. Now that would have really gotten people going. Now don't take my word for it. When you're at the next show, if you're at one of the next shows up and coming, watch people When My Cosmos Is Mine. It's kind of like, it's like an extended intro. And especially when it gets to the part, no one, not here, not here. It is so fucking depressing. It really is. I do like the chord progressions on it, though, I must say. And I don't dislike the song. I just feel that if you're going to be doing a show with 22 songs, you've been going a long time, you've got a lot of songs, I don't think this song is strong enough. And I just think by the fourth leg, please lose it. I would like to have seen something like People Are Good. Now, comment in the description below. I don't think they've actually played that live. Have they? I don't know. I'm obviously not paying attention to every single show. And then, of course, it's Peter Gordino on his bass. Doom, 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 doom. I would love to see Peter Gordino just going rogue and going boom, 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 doo, 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 doo. Okay, so My Cosmos Is Mine finally ends and we get into Wagging Tongue. Now, Wagging Tongue for me is essentially the beginning of the show. And I said this about the Twickenham concert as well. This is where it really starts, is that blum, 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 that real sort of Vince Clarke modular synth sound. You won't do well to silence me. You just feel completely invested. So this is where the show actually starts, as far as I'm concerned. Track 3 is bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, Walking My Shoes, and of course it's become a bit of a chant moment where everyone goes huh, 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 huh. I don't know when this particular version started. I mean, they've, you know, it's a sort of newer arrangement which has probably been running for about 12 years or so. But I've got no qualms in Walking in My Shoes. You know, obviously one of the best songs Depeche Mode have ever done, and the way it's performed now, it works pretty well. Track 4, It's No Good. Now, personal opinion, It's No Good is one of those songs which everyone says is a great song. I personally don't think so, personally. Now, I can hear, you know, when it came out on the Ultra album, you know, when they started Ultra, you know, the first single released was Barrel of a Gun, and people were like, wow, this is weird. Then when they heard It's No Good, it was like, okay, this sounds like Depeche Mode. So I'm not against It's No Good. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I just personally don't think it's as good as what everyone says it is. Personal opinion. So what I would have done was, personally, if I was the production manager here, I would lose It's No Good and I would have suggested Fly on the Windscreen. Now imagine that. That would have really, really, really got people going, and it would be a real surprise. Now, once again, the set list back in the time where I saw it in Twickenham, I don't mind the fact that they played My Cosmos Is Mine and things like It's No Good. What I'm trying to say is that this show has been going on for so long. I feel that by the fourth leg, they really should change it a little bit more. If not for the fans, but just for themselves. I mean, it must be so boring playing My Cosmos Is Mine every day. Oh, well, you know, 3 times a week, whatever, for 2 years. So It's No Good. Certainly not a bad track to have on there. But of course, I'm saying if I was production manager, I would have suggested Fly on the Windscreen. And I'd love to hear your comments on that. Track 5, Policy of Truth. Now, this is one that hasn't been played in a while. It always comes across well. Now, I have a criticism that really sort of stuck out, and this is just me being incredibly geeky, but without segueing into a tangent, When it comes to music production and mixing and all kinds of things like that, you know, the difference between something that is brilliant and that is average, it's within that it's within that 3%. For instance, you get 97%, which is the song and the production, but it's in that 3%, in that minuscule part. That is where the genius lies. And I guess what I'm trying to say is here, where, for instance, whereas the drumming on this wasn't bad, I'm never saying the drumming's bad. I just feel that one of the fundamental parts of Policy of Truth, if you listen to the record, is the fact that it has two snares. The snare changes throughout the song. And of course, by doing it live here, that wasn't the case. Now you could say I'm nitpicking. However, coming back to my 3% analogy, and Alan Wilder understood this.
Warning. Warning. Alan Wilder, fanboy.
What Alan Wilder understood is that the details count. It is these small, minuscule details that count. And a lot of what I'm getting from a lot of the live shows here is there is a lot of, yeah, that'll do. You know what I mean? Whereas this is a lot better than it was back in the time of the Spirit live shows. I still think that there are elements of complacency or laziness, I think. And I will point out specific examples, but yeah. I'm being incredibly geeky, but once again, I come back to that 3% analogy. These details count. And I think Wilder understood that. Now, I'm not going to get into the Alan Wilder debate again, as we all know. These two session musicians, Peter and Christian, have been in the band a lot longer than Alan ever was. So, but I think my feelings on the matter are out there for all to see. Track 6, In Your Room. Now, this is the Zephyr mix, which was the single mix back in 1993. Once again, a very, very good version. Obviously, a lot more upbeat than the album version. Now, I personally prefer the album version, but I think for a live performance, this version does work better because it's more energetic. But I personally still prefer the album version. I don't have any criticisms on the way they performed it. I think it was brilliant. Track 7, this is always the part where people really come alive. Dum, dum, dim, dim. Dum, dim, dim. And when we first heard this backtrack back in the Spirit tour, we went, what is that? When it started, oh, is that Higher Love? Or, of course, we now know that it is Everything Counts. And yeah, I do like this new arrangement. It's very modern sounding. I'm not against them using different sounds because, look, they have to move on and progress. There are certain songs, like which I'll talk about later, which do require those original sound banks. Once again, I personally do not mind them using newer sounds, provided the newest sounds aren't crap and sound like they come from a General MIDI sound bank. And there's a bit of that in the show, which I'll get to. But the Everything Counts performance, I think, works really, really well. To me, it was personally like a highlight of the show. I enjoyed it, and I don't really have any comments on this. I just think what I am missing on the Everything Counts these days is the 3-part harmony. Back when Alan was in there, we had a 3-part harmony, but now we just have Martin basically singing his part. So I do miss that third harmony. Other than that, I think they do the Everything Counts. I think they do it justice in the way they're doing it now. Track 8 is Precious. Interesting, when Precious was first played live, this must have been around about 2006 in the Playing the Angel album. The first time I heard it live, I thought it sounded a bit flat. I liked Precious when I first heard it on the record, but when I heard it live, it didn't come across very well live. However, fast forward to now, Precious does come across very well live. Why is that? Well, of course, they've been doing it for many, many years. It's just that a song, I always use the analogy, if you're an artist, a song needs to fit you like an old pair of jeans. You know, when you put a new pair of jeans on or a new pair of shoes, it takes a while for your toes to find those shoes. But when you've been wearing shoes for a long time, your toes just know where to go. And it's, forgive the analogy here, but it's really, you know, when they've been playing songs for many, many years, you can actually hear how they actually get better with time. Not always, but you know what I'm trying to say. Track 9, My Favorite Stranger. Of course, this was a new edition. I don't think they played this in the Twickenham show. Came across quite well. I do like this sort of menace in this. It does have a sort of later part of the song, which is just noise, which I suppose gets a bit much, but I don't really have a problem with this. I think it was well done, and I like the projection, the sort of music video that was in the background. I remember that being pretty cool. Track 10, this is the part where Dave walks off, and it's Martin's segment now. Now, this is always one of this, for me, it's one of my favorite parts of every Depeche Mode show. I'm not trying to make a competition out of it, but I've always been a huge Martin Gore fan, first and foremost. So if there were two shows playing at the same time and you told me I could go to a Martin or a Dave show, I'd go to the Martin Gore show any day. So I love Martin's acoustic set. And, we all know what's coming. We know there's going to be a piano rendition of some song, but we never know what it is. And in this particular case, it was Strange Love. Now, what struck me about Strange Love played on the piano, you would think it would come across really, really well. It doesn't come across badly. I remember seeing Strange Love done as a piano ballad, with Martin and Peter on a YouTube video a while back, and I was just a bit disappointed by it. And that's not because he sang it badly. I mean, Martin's a flawless singer. He never hits a bum note. It just didn't come across that well to me. I don't know. And you would have thought that Strange Love would work very well as a piano ballad. It's not bad, once again, but I'm just saying, remember, the standard here is really high. So it just doesn't come across as well as I thought it would. However, track 11, Heaven, which was sung by Martin with Peter on the piano, this was excellent. This was really, really, really good. Absolutely excellent. And obviously on the record, Dave sings it. But Martin brings a certain nuance and quality to it, an angelic character that only he can. And I think this was absolutely excellent. Strange Love, once again, wasn't bad, but it washed over me. I don't think it was that great. On to track 12, Dave comes back on again, and we're into Ghosts again. Now, the first time I heard Ghosts again before they dropped the Memento Mori album, I loved it. I just thought, wow, this has got a real sort of sincere, eyes wide open feel about it. I loved the lyric, Everybody Says Goodbye. I just loved it. It was kind of upbeat. It wasn't them trying to be dark and moody. I just thought, come on, guys, just write some good songs. Get off this moody crap, you know what I mean? It's okay if the songs come across as moody, but don't be moody just for the sake of trying to be moody, which I had a problem with some of the older songs. This song was great. It just had a real sort of eyes wide open, sincere and honest feeling about it. And it was very, very emotional, sort of in light of what had happened to Andrew Fletcher and all that. A comment I've noticed from other people is that this song, as much as I like it, it doesn't come across very well live. When you listen to it on the record, it's kind of, it's up tempo and it has an energy to it that does not seem to translate well live. Now, it may well be like in the previous example, I used the song Precious. When I heard Precious the very first time on the Playing the Angel album, I loved it. And when I saw it live, I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit flat. But now, fast forward to the current day, Precious comes across really, really well. Now, this may well be the case with Ghosts again. Maybe after, a few more tours or shows, it will come across well. But it just always sounds a bit flat and disappointing to me. And I don't know why that is. I will just kind of analyze it a little bit more. It may be a little bit to do with the drumming. It could be. It's just because on the record it has a sort of, it's a drum machine, and this is the thing when you're taking drum machine songs and playing them with a live drummer, regardless of how good the live drummer is, it doesn't always work. But that may not be the only reason why I don't feel it resonates very well. I just don't think Dave's vocals are very great on the live version of Ghosts Again, if I must be honest with you. Track 13, I Feel You. I mean, yeah, a great song. What can we say? If you're watching my Depeche Mode album review series, which is currently on my channel, check out the breakdown I did with my mix engineer and friend Andy Marlowe, where we talk about I Feel You and we analyze the guitar parts. It comes across well. I mean, this particular song takes a lot of vocal energy. Now, I just don't feel that Dave has the vocal power that he used to have. And that's no criticism, I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Dave is older than he used to be. We all are. So whereas the performances on these vary, I have seen him do this in recent shows where they're like really amazing. Once again, on this night, I felt he was a bit tired, and I'm not going to bust his balls for that, excuse the expression. He's human. Now, what I must mention is that, with this first show, the first show of the first leg, which was the London show, if we jump to the other shows which were in Manchester, Birmingham, those shows to me were better in a lot of ways because Dave seemed less tired. So once again, I don't want to criticize Dave too much on that. He's human, and we have good shows and bad shows. So once again, I feel on this particular show to me it just lacked the energy that I was accustomed to, but it wasn't bad. Track 14. Okay, can we please just lose this song now? Oh my God. Do 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 do. A pain that I'm used to, the Jacques Leconte remix. Now, once again, that particular version, it's a good version, as a version of that song. I still don't think it comes close to the original version. I liked the original single version. I'm not sure what I'm looking for anymore. The video with the cars going around the track and the chicks driving them and bum, bum, bum. The actual album version of A Pain That I'm Used To, I love the tempo, I love the speed, I love the vibe and everything. This do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Pete's learned another song on the bass. Okay, let's put it on. And no criticism to you, Pete. It's just, this is a song that you can lose from the set list because we've heard it so many times, and quite frankly, I'm bored of it. Now, if I was the production manager and if I had the privilege of recommending a substitute that was also up-tempo, I would have suggested A Question of Time. Imagine that. Imagine how the crowd would have reacted to that. Because when this song starts, do-do-do-do, then I'm like, hey, Rob, hold my beer. I'm going to go for a piss. And you go for a pee and you come back and you feel like you've been, in the bathroom for a long time. And you come out, which feels like 10 minutes, and do-do-do-do, do-do. Oh, Rob, can I have my beer back? Do-do-do. Oh, it's still playing. Rob, hold my beer. I'm going back to the bar. Anyone want a drink? I am so childish. I do apologize. Track 15 was another highlight, was Wild in My Eyes. I've got absolutely no qualms on this. I think everything was, tops on this one. And of course, maybe I was skewed by the emotion, the fact seeing Fletcher's face on those screens. He's doing this kind of thing, the photos taken from the Violator album cover. And yeah, I guess that's probably what it is. I think just out of respect for Fletcher, I know he loved the song so much, and so I guess I wasn't listening to the song as critically as I usually would, but it sounded great. I like the fact that they always dedicate a song to Fletch. Having said that, I will make a video about this because this is something that I've really noticed. I've really noticed how Fletch not being there has really changed the dynamic of everything. If not on stage, but especially in interviews as well. If you watch Dave and Martin in interviews, you needed Fletch there because he added that sort of Britishness. Dave and Martin have been living in America for a long time, and I feel that maybe they've lost some of that British sarcasm, and that's why I loved having Fletch there, because he always brought that British sarcasm to the interviews and stuff. There was a lot said about how little he did on stage and stuff. The show is definitely less charismatic in a way, only for that, and it's something that I don't think a lot of us ever realized until now, you know what I mean? But we'll dedicate a video to that, but leave your comments below and let me know what you think. Track 16, Black Celebration. Now, Now, I'm always critical on some of the legacy songs because we know how they sounded in their heydays, but within that, artists need to evolve. Now, I don't mind them doing new versions of old songs, but I will be a lot more critical because that was kind of like my golden Depeche Mode period. Now, I must say, one of the first things that jumped out to me was when Black Celebration started was duk 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 duk. You can hear on the backing track, you can hear the original sort of legacy sounds, which you have to have. But then there were a lot of sounds on that were coming through the speakers, which were brilliant. They were not the legacy sounds. They were not the original sounds. These were new sounds. Now, I know the sounds. I'm a geek. I've got the sound banks. Just stay with me. I know this. So a lot of these new sounds were new sounds. I went, oh, that's new. That's different. That is fucking brilliant. And you know how critical I am. And the reason I'm critical is because I'm honest. But I will give credit where it's due. This sounded amazing until the drums started. Now, dum, tuk, 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 duk, 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 duk. So he started with a bum, 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 bum. And I thought, okay, he's just punctuating it. Bum, 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 bum. That's fine. But by the time I look to you, how you carry on, by the time that came, that's where on the record you get the kick snare. Doof, dish, doof, dish. That's all the song needs. That's all it needs. The problem I had, the way he butchered it with the drumming. Now, he butchered it with the drumming as well. I think on one of I think it was on the Spirit tour. They did this kind of halftime thing. Now, I love the desire to experiment with it. I look to you. It was a halftime. He did a halftime thing, but it didn't work. Also, the way the drums are processed on this whole tour is something I'm going to get into at the end, in my opinion, right? I'm no expert, but I know what I like. The start of Black Celebration was brilliant. Dick, 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 dick. I got really excited. Boom, 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 boom. And he did all the boom, 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 with the toms. It was a little bit over the top, but he's punctuating it and it's fine. Once again, I'm not attacking you personally, Christian. But by the time it got into the song, from the I look to you, how you carry on, all it needs at this point is just a kick, snare, and maybe with a break beat fill in everything. But it was just... Oh, sorry, I'm spitting all over the place here. But yeah, it was all the fucking way through, and I was just like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to go back to the bar. Anyone want a beer? If you've just been to the bar, Vaughn, yeah, I'm going back to the bar, and I'm going to go for a piss. Anyway, so yeah, that was disappointing. Started off fabulously, and I was just like, okay, you've killed it. Track 17, Stripped. Now, Stripped, one of my favorite Depeche Mode songs. I'm sure it's one of your favorite Depeche Mode songs. Most fans would put Stripped as a top 5. Now, I don't know why. I've said this before on previous videos. I don't know why this song is transposed when they play it live these days. It's transposed a semitone lower than what it is on the record. Now, it is common practice for artists to transpose songs when they go live. Typically, the pitch will be changed lower just to make it easier to sing live. It's an understood thing. But I don't know why they changed the key of Stripped for the live shows over the last maybe three tours or so. Now, the reason I don't understand it is Stripped is not sung in a very, very high register. Come with me into the trees, we'll lay on the grass, let the hours pass. There's not a high register. Even when it gets to the chorus, let me see you stripped down to the bone. It's not a high register. Even with the higher register, Martin going, bone. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from man flu. But you get the picture. So I don't know why they've transposed it. Because there are other songs throughout the show where Dave sings a lot higher than what he sings here. So I don't understand the decision to transpose it a semitone lower. All that does is it takes a lot of the energy away from the song. So it just sounds very flat and droning. It loses a bit of its euphoric lift. And then you combine it with the drumming, which is better than it used to be on this. All I can say is Stripped is no longer a highlight of shows anymore. Watch Stripped back in the days of Devotional and before that. It was always a highlight of the show. Don't take my word for it. Just watch audience reaction. You will notice Stripped is no longer a highlight of the show. And I believe that transposing it, for whatever reason, is the reason why it's not working. Track 18. Okay, here's another song that, please, just lose it. John the Revelator. I was never keen on this from the start, ever since I heard it the first time was it Playing the Angel? No, it's not bad. I know for a fact, well, no, I don't know this for a fact. I'm assuming that this is Dave that always chooses this song. It just doesn't come across well live. It just doesn't. Just listen to it, and once again, don't take my word for it, just gauge the audience reaction. Once again, the mix of this song, boom, 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 it's very dense. If you listen to the record, it was very sort of lo-fi and everything. So you've got all that coming at you, and like all the sound coming through the speakers. I think it must be quite difficult to mix. In fact, I think a lot of Depeche Mode's music is very difficult to mix live because of the epic sound and because of the dense nature, the fact that there's a lot of sound. So I always take my hat off to the sound engineer. There's a lot. I really do. I'd hate to do it because it must be very difficult. But John the Revelator, I think I said this in my Twickenham show as well. I think the Twickenham version was better than this. But it's once again, nothing is bad. Nothing is bad. It's just they have songs that are so much better. Now, if I was the production manager, I would have suggested Master and Servant. Why not? Just, I mean, wow, boom, 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 boom. That would have been a curveball, and you would have watched the audience lose their fucking minds. Track 19, Enjoy the Silence. Now, Enjoy the Silence is one of these, what I call non-negotiable songs. Non-negotiable songs are, every band has a set of songs that they have to play. They just have to play them every single show. Now, Enjoy the Silence is a non-negotiable song, as is Stripped, as is, Never Let Me Down Again. So it has to be played. Some of the comments I read online, some people are having moral issues with the video in the background for Enjoy the Silence, something to do with donkeys being abused. Now, I haven't researched that. I just saw donkeys and I thought it looked interesting. It was Anton being very creative. So yeah, please leave your comments in the description below. I'd like to hear about the donkeys, but I shall go back and watch that. I didn't notice any abuse, but yeah. But anyway, onto the song. Enjoy the Silence. Once again, this particular arrangement, they've been doing this for years. It's always the same sort of backing track and stuff. It always comes across well. I'm just not very keen on the break because boom, boom, boom. And I think the dilemma they face is that Enjoy the Silence is arguably their biggest hit ever, probably the biggest selling single ever. And it's also one of the songs that transcends Depeche Mode. I mean, Depeche Mode it's an acquired taste, but there are people who are not fans of Depeche Mode who like that song. I mean, even my mum likes that song, and she doesn't like Depeche Mode. That gives you an example. So this is one of their greatest hits, and therefore I can understand the desire to kind of big it up by that break. However, it's not a rock out kind of song. I mean, I still think one of the best live versions of Depeche Mode were during Devotional. I mean, it had this dum 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 dum. It was just cool. It was just cool. Now they're putting so much energy into it. It's kind of losing its coolness. Sorry, but I'm not going to take that away. It's a live performance. It's energy and everything. I just don't feel that this song needs that much because it's Alan understood this. Sorry. No, I'm not. Okay. And then they walk off. And then, of course, they're not going home because the lights are still off. They're going to come back for an encore. And they come back on. And I was hoping for Waiting for the Night to Fall, because I think that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. But no, we got Condemnation. Now, Condemnation, Dave's best vocal ever. I don't think we can argue with that. Personally, to me, I've never been huge on the Condemnation song. It was always one of the songs I skipped the most on the Songs of Faith and Devotion album. But I will say, very well produced, very unusual, brilliant song, brilliant vocal performance from Dave. You cannot deny it. And also, if you look at Dave performing Condemnation through the Songs of Faith and Devotion tour, okay, he was off his face a lot of the time, but the performance on that was just, you can't beat it. But Condemnation, that angst, that power, that letting go, that's what the song is all about. It's about being accused against, you're a good man, but you're being accused, and there's that angst and all that, that when he sings that song on the record and on the devotional show, the devotional tours, you can hear the angst, and he's singing from, you're just like, oh my God. That's not the case here. This is like the lounge bar version. Now, if you look at his body language when he used to sing it, it was Condemnation, arms out like this. It was like that. Now it's like, Condemnation, try, with his gravel. Condemnation. For a moment, I thought he was going to go into, I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. Condemnation. Okay, I'm very childish. I'm going to stop now. Some things are better left where they belong. I'm sorry. This just didn't do it for me. I would have preferred to hear Waiting for the Night to Fall, because the Waiting for the Night to Fall, which they've been doing, on several of the shows, was spellbinding and brilliant. I'll give credit where it's due. Lose Condemnation, please. Track 21, Just Can't Get Enough. Okay, yeah, all right. Dun, 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 dun. Once again, as I said on my previous reviews, it's quite nice that they do this. It almost signifies, okay, we're not too cool, we're going to play this because it's part of our catalogue. So I get that. No criticisms on it. I would have just preferred to hear maybe Photographic or something like that. But no real criticisms. I think I went to the bar for this anyway. God, I spent a lot of my time at the bar and at the urinals. And they haven't done it yet, so we know it's coming soon. Track 22, Never Let Me Down Again. It's all a bit predictable and good, but, it's at this part of the show where, I think more emotion kicks in more, and you're not really listening as much as what you're just participating. So no criticisms there. It is a great song. And then Personal Jesus. And that wraps up the O2 show on the 22nd of January 2024, which was the first show of the fourth leg of the Memento Mori tour. Now, once again, if you look at the footage from the other shows, which I was not at, there was the Manchester, there was Birmingham, and then there was the London one again on the 27th. There were a few changes in the set list there and everything. For instance, on the 27th, Martin did Somebody. That came across really, really well. And then, of course, he did Home as well. So I like that Martin's little segment changes quite a bit. But I think I've said a lot on that as well. Also, I noticed on the 27th, back at the O2 Arena, instead of playing World in My Eyes, they played Behind the Wheel. And it says, for the first time since 2014. And I think on this Behind the Wheel, they dedicated it to Fletch. And I love that as well. My criticisms on Behind the Wheel, once again, I don't mind that you use new sounds or you create new sounds. What does annoy me is when the new sounds sound like they come from a fucking General MIDI sound bank. No, I'm not having this. Now, in all fairness, I never heard Behind the Wheel live because they didn't play it at the show I was at. However, there is enough video footage online for me to get the sort of gist and the vibe of the Behind the Wheel that they played live. And once again, Christian was very restrained on the drumming, because the actual drumming style on the production on Behind the Wheel, it's very claustrophobic. On the album, they're not even there are no cymbals. It's just kick snare, and he showed a lot of restraint. Yeah, he just did kick snare with the odd break every here and there. So no criticisms there, but my main criticism is on the lead line, the bang 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 ding 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 ding. I've done videos on this, but they're using the sound that goes bing 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 bing, and it's just wrong, and it's played in the wrong octave. It's played too high. It should be played in a lower octave. Anyway, I don't want to sound like a dick now, but there are just certain things that are unforgivable. So, final verdict on the January the 22nd show at the London O2. Okay, all things considered, it was the first show from the fourth leg. Dave seemed a bit tired. That's fine. The drumming is actually a lot better than it used to be. I just can't get my head around the drumming, and I'd love to speak to someone about this. It just sounds overcompressed. When you hit a cymbal, it goes ksh. These cymbals seem to go ksh. They seem to cut it off, and it seems really gated. It really sounds like there's a blanket over the drum set, and it's like you don't get the crack. The snares, honestly, can I just say that is the biggest looking drum kit I've ever seen. It looks impressive, it's massive, but it just has no impact. The snares sound like toms. I've spoken about this in videos. It doesn't have, a snare needs that nice sizzle and snap. This is just like boom. You don't get that snap and attack that you expect from a snare. It's just like a boom, boom. And the drum kit does sound overcompressed. It just sounds like boom. Now maybe it's a mix decision. I don't know. I'm asking the questions. I'm not pretending to know the answer. All I'm saying is, as a consumer of the music, as a customer standing there, as a fan, I just don't like the drum sound. And there are a lot of bands in this genre who do use acoustic drum kits, and it sounds right. I just don't know with Depeche Mode, it just never sounds right. It just sounds overcompressed. The snares are just non-existent. And I think anyone who's into drum kits will emphasize the importance of a snare. Oh my God, mix engineers and stuff like Dave Pensado and Chris Lord-Elgey and stuff, they will always say the snare is like one of the most important things on a drum kit. So yeah, no snare sound, overcompressed. It just sounds like it needs it. It's like the drum kit's being suppressed. It's this huge drum kit, but it's like it's being kept under. Now I don't know once again if that's a mixed decision, if it's gated or heavily compressed just to help with the mix. I don't know, but you only need to. And sorry for this reference point. You only need to go back to the way Alan used to drum in on the Devotional Tour. Alan was a far less technical drummer than Christian, but for some reason it sounded a lot better. The drum kit was about a third of the size, but it sounded better. So I don't know what it is with that fucking drum kit, and it really pisses me off. But the show was good. At the end of the day, you throw that much money at something, it has to be good. So yeah, just a little bit of laziness on the set list, I feel, and a little bit of laziness on some of the newer sounds where it's not enough thought has gone into the newer sounds. Once again, I don't mind them using newer sounds on the legacy songs, but please, for God's sakes, make sure that the sound works. I mean, back in the days, if we take like the lead part sound to Behind the Wheel, so much attention to detail went into those sounds. So if you're not prepared to put that level of attention and detail into those sounds, then just don't use them. Just use the original sounds, or don't play the song, please. As far as the stage set and everything goes, wonderful, impressive. The stage was amazing, beautiful. It's just a little bit slick. That's probably not a bad thing, but it just leans a little bit too much into the corporate Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna do my spin now, and check this out. It's all a bit. It's lost that edge, and it's become just a little bit too slick, a bit too predictable. I don't know, and that's the best way I can articulate it now. But hell, this video's been going on for long, and now it's up to you, my friend. If you haven't died of boredom or fallen asleep, Let me hear from you. Comments below. Let me know, what did you think of these shows? Have you been to any of these shows? Are you going to any of them? I would love to hear your comments and interact with you. If you've not joined the Vaughn George Facebook group, then please do. That is a great place where we can continue the discussions for the videos we do here. Also, if you want to support my work and get an in-depth look at the stuff I do, then do please consider joining watchvg.com, where you can see these videos in more detail and you can be a part of exclusive live streams and more. That's it from me for now. I wish you all the best, lots of love, and I'll see you at the next video. Adios.